Okay, now it's time for us to actually implement the save function here, the save capability. Okay, so the first thing we need to think about is, okay, how do we save something? Well, first of all, to save anything to the database, to our cloud Firestore, we need to get the collection reference. Okay, so to get the collection reference, let's create the collection reference at the top somewhere. So right at the top of this method, create book cards, I'm going to say final. Let's call this book collection reference. I'm going to set it up to say, it's going to say Firebase, Firestore, get the instance and go to path and say collection, okay? And the collection is books. Remember, we haven't looked at it in a while. This is what we're talking about here. So we're going to go to books collection there. And we have this old book collection which we used earlier to just test things out. So go ahead and delete that collection altogether. Actually, let's just delete the actual document. It's fine. We could have deleted the books as well, and it would have been created when we actually ran this piece of code. But why do that if we already have it? Okay, so I'm going to get the collection there. To save, of course, we need to get the collection. I'm going to say collection. Let's see. Book collection. There we go. Going to invoke the, going to add, let's say book. We have that book object or class that is, and we're going to start putting things together here. So for our book, pass in constructor. The first thing is going to be the user ID, because we need, remember, to add the user ID of this person. And how do we get our user ID? Well, we're going to say user because we have the user object here. I think we do anyway. Get instance that get current user that get UI ID like this. Okay, that's what we're going to be passing. Later, we're going to change all of this to actually get what we call providers and so forth, but this will work as well. Okay, next I'm going to pass title, so nothing out of this book. How do we get that title? Say book object, get that title, and then author, book.author.object. Look how easy this is. Photo URL, book.photo URL, publish date. It's going to be book.published date. Pass a description, and also passing page count, as well as categories. Now we're going to have an issue here that says the argument type book can't be assigned to parameter type map. Okay, well, you know this because when we want to save anything to our backend database Firestore, we need to transform or convert everything into a map. To do that, we can say something like that to map. And so it seems like we can't do that because the book doesn't have the to map method. So let's go to book. Yep, we have from map, but we don't have to map. So to save you from watching me typing, I'm just going to go ahead and pause this video and get everything get the to map method. All right, and there we go. So there is the to map method. Essentially, it just wraps everything into a map and returns that map. So we can use that. So this is the same thing we did with user class. Nothing new there. Okay, so now I can say to map. We should be able to get that. And you can see now all problems went away. We always want to get rid of problems because who likes problems really? Okay, let's save this and see if we're going to be able to save a new book. Make sure that we log into user. There we go. Let's just go ahead and get a Flutter development book because that's what we like. All right, let's find this one here. There is all the description. Everything looks great. Let's see if we just can save. Save. There'll be no errors. That's good. Let's go to the database. There is one book now because I see the ID. And what you know, there is a book that was saved. And we pass in the user ID that is responsible for saving this book. This is NQG0H. If we go back to our authenticated, there's only one. There he is. Again, the reason why we save a book with a field with the user ID or UI ID is because we want to make sure that later, if we want to get all the books where the user has this ID, then we can do that. Okay, so it's just it's more of a forward thinking so that we can save ourselves later when we need to. All right, so this is good news. We're able, just like that, we're able to save a book. Okay, so we went and searched a book. If I cancel here, I can go and get a total different book. Let's say Killing a Mockingbird, something like this. Very popular book. Let's click there. There it is. There's the author, published 2014. Maybe it's a revival of that book, but doesn't matter. Let's go ahead and save. We go here, you can see now there it is. We have that book saved. Wonderful. Now, what we want to do is want to make sure once we save, we want to get rid of this pop-up, right? Well, you know how to do that already. I can come down here and just say something to the fact that navigator of, and pass context and say pop. And just like that, we should be safe and life is good. So we're pretty much done now with our searching book, but most importantly, we're able to save that book. Okay, this is a big deal. So what do we want to do next? Of course, we're going to come back and do some work in terms of the cosmetics, making sure the buttons are looking more similar to these buttons and so forth. But we can do that later. That's not a problem. So before we move forward and do other things, let's go ahead and make sure that we fix a few things here. One of which is, let's see if we can refactor some things here. So the first thing I think we should refactor, let's see, is this alert dialog here, right? Because we could separate that from the crowd. So if you click that, command period, we can extract widget, and we may name this, let's call this search book detail dialog. Hit enter, and voila. You can see now it separated everything, and if you go click, it's its own class right now. So as we always do, I'm going to fold that and then cut all of that. That'll be widget. So I'm going to create a new file. Searched book detailed dialog.dart. Paste it all in. Let's go ahead and import material. Of course, also collection reference there. Scroll down, we can click here, this red line. Let's also import that. Okay, let's go back to our book search to make sure that we didn't break anything. Have to import this package. Right, let's save once again just to make sure that everything still works. And that's very handy. See, we extracted that alert dialog and created a method, or in this case, an actual widget, separate widget. It created all the arguments that need to be passed. Pretty neat. Okay, let's make sure we go to main and refresh again just to make sure we're logged in. Okay, let's give it a try to make sure we didn't break anything. Say web development, hit enter. Okay, courses are good, click, and there we go. Everything is still working. Let's see if we can save this web practical. If we go here, there it is, that web practical that was added, Paul Wellens. Everything still works, which is always encouraging. Now, one thing you notice here is that if we go back, and I want to go back in, it says no books found, even though we haven't created it. Just get rid of this, because this just doesn't look good. How do we do that? Let's go back to our book search real quick here. Let's see. Book search. We can try to find no books found. There it is. Okay. So in this case here, said list books. If it's not null and list books is not empty, we could just get rid of this first, right? To just look if list books is not empty. Let's save this just to see what it will return to us. Make sure if that will actually help a little bit. Okay, let's see. Oh, it's still there. Okay, so that didn't quite help, of course, as I knew. But now that we have that, what we can do is, if this is the case, in fact, let's change this. Instead of empty, let's say books is not equal to null. Okay. And then add main axis alignment. This is just my own thing here. Just want to make sure that everything is centered, first of all. And also, I want to make sure that our cross alignment, I'm going to say cross alignment to be at start. Okay. That shouldn't change much, but at least we have something there. Okay, and for now, I'm just going to get rid of this. Just pass an empty like this. Okay, let's just say books. Just testing here real quick. Okay, you notice, of course, go back and click here. Notice it doesn't show anything. So that's fine, really, because we haven't clicked or we haven't done anything. One other thing we can do, actually, to make it even better. In fact, it's something I would like you to do. Another exercise. You can, because we're inside here of a stateful widget, you can actually create a variable that will show here, right? So depending on whether we have anything, once this list books, once we have clicked on the enter button, right? The keyboard button, enter, to go and search. If there's nothing in our list books, then we are going to actually show that text. Okay, so you can make this, so you can actually create a state for that text that will show here. If there is nothing, once we have click to search, then we're going to say no books received, right? If that's the case, and so forth. So you can do that if you wish to do so. But for now, this is fine. So go ahead and do that actually as an exercise for yourself and figure out how to do that. All right, so we are doing a really good job here. We are making real good progress. We are able to search things such as books. We can go books, and then for the love, there we go. We can search anything, as you see here. So we can say reading books. Okay, so whatever Google has, they will show us there. Okay, and we can click, and there's all that information. Beautifully done. We can save or just cancel out because we decided that's not a book for us, and go from there. So far this web app is working. Okay, so in the next videos, we are going to move forward and do other things, such as making sure that then we have these books, that we at least start seeing something in our main page here, right? To see something similar to this. Let's go to there. Let's go back. You can see something like this, to where we can start adding books or showing books right here. The books that have been saved, we can show them here. Okay, I'll see you in the next video.